alaikum, everybody. Welcome again to Youth Perspectives. Of course, this week I have my co-host Azra Mirza, and the topic we are going to be talking about today is social media. And social media is something that I really feel like is a major part of a lot of our lives, as many of us likely use. I'm sure, like the youth that are watching this program, most of us have a social media. And so that's why I kind of wanted to focus on that, because that's kind of something that's really prominent in the life of the youth. So now I'm going to come to Azra. Azra, do you want to define social media for us so we know what we're talking about exactly?
Yes, definitely. So I have the actual definition of social media. It is defined as the interactive platforms that facilitate the creation and sharing of information, ideas, career interests, and other forms of expression. And also another definition is that social media is something that helps with networking and communication. So with these definitions, it obviously sounds like something very, very positive. And obviously that was the intention of social media when it was created by the many different, famous people we know who created Facebook, Snapchat, WhatsApp, Twitter, all these things. But unfortunately, now today, social media is being used for numerous other things, which may not all be as positive as we would have liked. So today we're going to talk about some of those things, like what is social media and what are some detrimental effects of social media, what are some positive effects, and how do we mitigate the detrimental effects, because there are so many. As far as the definition goes, social media was originally made for positive things. It's something that you can use to network with other people, to communicate with other people, to share your ideas and your expressions and your thoughts. And obviously in America, we all have, the freedom of speech as part of the Constitution. So social media is a great platform that lets us spread awareness of, really important issues like that. And we can really, spread our opinions and our thoughts to, all corners of the globe, and we can use that to our advantage. But unfortunately, we have to understand some of the negative effects to make sure that we're not really going in that direction. And that's exactly what we're going to be talking about today. I want to give some statistics beforehand so we understand why exactly we're talking about social media today, because everyone, like almost everyone we know, uses social media. So here are some statistics. Out of the 7.5 billion people in the world, over 3 billion people use social media every month. That's 42% of the world's population. Now, keep in mind that a lot of people live in poverty and they, don't have access to social media. But the ones that do, 42% of the entire global population uses social media. That's a big number. That's almost half of the people. Every second, 11 people use social media for the first time. So that's about 1 million new users a day on average. So about 1 million people use social media a day for the first time on average. So that's a lot every single day. 1 million new people who are having access to social media, and we don't even know how they're going to be using it in good or bad ways. And social media is a good thing, but again, we see so many ways where people they don't know how to use it correctly, especially young people, because social media now, if you think about it, the people who are using social media, they're just getting younger and younger. So at first we had people who are about maybe in their mid-20s who used it, because that's what social media was aimed for. Like Facebook was aimed for college students, and now we have younger and younger people. We have teenagers, we have people in middle school using social media, sometimes even elementary. We have fifth graders who have phones and who start using social media, and if they don't know how to properly navigate through these platforms, they can have it can harm them a lot more than it can benefit them.
Yeah, Azra, you brought up a really important point that, social media has a lot of benefits, and, it was kind of made to be a really good thing for everyone. But, like they say, there's a certain limit of things that are good for us, So for excessively doing something and excessively doing anything, unless it's like something religious, is not good for you, which I think is like a generalization in my head. So of course, like social media, like Azra mentioned, like it's good for us. Of course, it allows us to make connections with people. It allows us to spread information. It allows us to simply, of course, connect with other people. And, there are so many benefits that I'm going to kind of be discussing throughout our program today of social media. But, we have to know how to make the most out of social media and at the same time limit ourselves to it, so then we don't overspend time on it and end up wasting our time for stuff, that we could do other valuable things in. So now I would like to kind of start off by talking about some of the benefits of social media. So number one, like we mentioned before, clearly social media was meant to help people stay connected, and that's really good for us. If you have someone who lives, a friend, or of course family, we know it's very common that, not all families live all together in one place. I have family, there's family in Pakistan, and other parts of like the United States, so not all families are together. So social media can allow families to connect, or it can, of course, if you have a friend that moved away, it can allow you to stay connected with that friend. So it really allows you to keep relationships with people, and people that you've met in the past, you can keep up with them, and it just allows you to keep up with people and stay connected. And you have this whole platform where everyone can come together and express their thoughts and stay connected with everyone. You can make your own groups and everything, and you can just keep those kind of things, and that's really good for you, to keep your connections, because your connections really help you in the future. So that was the first benefit, obviously, that I wanted to talk about. Also, I wanted to talk about social media can allow you to also build professional relationships. Like on social media, you can kind of tell people, say for example, you want to be a public speaker or something. You can maybe record speeches of yourself on social media, or if you have like a talent, you're really good at, I don't know, like making a Rubik's Cube really fast, and you want to post that, if you want to express your talents or express the positives of yourself, maybe in the long run, if that thing becomes visible to more and more people, it can benefit you in the future, because professionally, if you are doing something that a company, or this is like a long-term thinking, I'm just kind of saying like the long-term benefits, but if they see something that they really like on your page, then that increases your chances of getting hired. And I've heard that colleges and stuff, they look through your social medias and everything, so it's really important what you present on there, and the more positive things you present about yourself, that ultimately gives you more points towards going into the college or looking for a job or whatever you're trying to do. So number one, it allows you to, first of all, stay connected to everyone and build professional relationships for your future. Number two, it allows you to, like I mentioned before, allows you to share your expertise. So if you have any talent or anything you would like to do, like I know people make YouTube videos and YouTube channels, and they try to do different things on there, and share their benefits, that they're good at, and it really benefits them. So that's another benefit of social media. Another thing that I really feel like social media can allow you to do is that it ultimately increases your visibility to people. Like for example, if you want to be the type of person to take an initiative, or you want to be the type of person to bring a change into your community, social media really allows you to do that. It gives you a path to like connect to so many people that if you want to start an initiative, like start a group for maybe fundraising for cancer, or fundraising for anything that you want, social media gives you like the path to connect to so many people. Things can get shared constantly over and over again, and your fundraiser can become something really big. And things like that. If you want to become a leader in your society, social media really allows you to do that, because it allows you to connect with so many people. Another thing social media does is, which is I really feel that's really important, and really I feel like it applies to me, and I'm sure it applies to a lot of you, is that it allows us to gain information. It allows us to educate ourselves. I'm not really, to be honest, I'm not a person who goes and checks the news every day, but when I'm on social media, I follow pages that give me the news, and so instead of separately going and having to look up the news, I just have the news in front of me on social media. So it really allows me to be aware of what's going on around me, and that similarly for everyone else, if you do that like on social media, news spreads really fast and people know about things like within like a day. So it's really good for that, because things spread really fast on there. So it's a great way to acquire information about our world. Another benefit of social media is that besides just information like news, you can get information about like science or math or something like that. Like I know there's always these science articles that are coming on, like depending if you're following those pages. I mean, like if you are, then you'll see like all of these cool new scientific developments and stuff. So I really feel like that's something really cool too, that really amazes me. So social media is just filled with all of these nice opportunities, but we need to know how to handle it. So now I'm going to kind of take a break from talking about the benefits, and I want to kind of come on to talk about what the actual harms are about social media. So now I'm going to come back to Azra. Azra, do you want to tell us what you believe are the harms of social media for us?
Yes, definitely. First, I want to say that Rabab mentioned some really wonderful things. Social media was obviously, originally made for good things. So it's really important to use it for good things as well. But it is important to talk about the negative effects because you might be victim to these too. We all have at some point been victim to these negative effects. So social media has proven to increase depression, stress, anxiety, and other mental health issues. Numerous studies have been conducted on social media users from various countries, from various ages, different genders, and the truth of the matter is that if people keep using social media, there's a correlation between social media and negative mental health. So the reasons why this happened is because there's so many reasons. The first thing is cyberbullying, because obviously people, when you're behind a screen, it is so easy for you to say negative things which you wouldn't have otherwise said when you were in front of a person. And you can see that as soon as you scroll down to the comment section of any social media, right? Below any video, below any photo, below anything that's posted, you have a bunch of, we call them internet trolls, right? They post a bunch of negative things which they would not have the guts to say in person. But if you're sitting behind a screen, behind a laptop with some username, and people don't know who you are, you will just say whatever you want to say. And sometimes even I can admit to this as well. If I'm texting someone, I will speak differently than when I'm speaking to them in person, because we feel safer. We feel safer behind a phone, behind a computer, behind a screen. So people are more accustomed to cyberbullying and to be negative on social media platforms, and it's really easy to fall into that trap, to say negative things yourself or to be victim to people saying negative things to you. So be very careful about that. Make sure, first of all, you're not someone who's cyberbullying or saying negative things, because it's so easy for people to do that. And remember that even if you're behind a screen, if you're saying something, there's someone on behind another screen who will be negatively affected by what you say. And people have feelings, and the feelings will be hurt, even if it's just some text that you wrote and click send. Okay, so it does have an effect on other people, whether you realize it or not. So first and foremost, be careful that you're not the cyberbullier. And second of all, if you are the one who's being cyberbullied, then just remove yourself from that environment. Never engage with internet trolls, because they will not be changed. They will not be changed. Like, you can try, but they won't. You cannot change a person or their whole entire opinion or perspective behind a screen. So don't think it's your job to go out there and save the world. If you're in a negative situation, just politely remove yourself, and there's that. Okay, you're never going to talk to these people again. No need to make a big dramatic deal over it. So that's a tip. Also, social media is proven to lower people's self-esteem. And there's so many reasons why. Obviously, one is a cyberbullying issue, but also because we have such unrealistic expectations, when we expose ourselves to social media too much. Because if you think about it, another social media sites where people, they post photos and they post videos, everyone's posting about the happy things in their life, right? You see people with such wonderful, perfect lives, with so many, they're traveling places, they have so many friends, they're partying all the time, they're doing this, they're doing that. Oh, it looks like they have so many things, they have such nice clothes, and it seems like their life is so much more perfect than yours, and then you start to feel insecure about your own life. But the truth is that these are filtered versions of someone else's life. No one posts their failures on social media, they only post their success. So you have people who carefully stage photos. None of those photos are candid, please. People stage photos and they filter them and they put them in a pretty neat order and they put some nice comment, and then everyone thinks, wow, her life is perfect, his life is perfect. But in reality, people may be going through depression, but it looks like they're having the best life in the world because of what you see on social media. So another tip is, please never compare yourself to other people, because every social media account is carefully crafted and accustomed to that person's liking and to that person's taste, and that is never an accurate reflection of what a person's life is. So just keep that in mind and never compare yourself to others. We're gonna get kind of sciencey here, but social media is proven to cause unhealthy sleep, because there's something called melatonin. Okay, it is the blue light emitted by screens such as TV screens, laptops, cell phones, and other tablets and sorts of things. They emit this blue light, and they restrain the production of melatonin. Melatonin is a hormone that controls your sleep and your wake cycle. So during the day, depending on how much light you're exposed to, your body will produce a lot of melatonin and you'll stay awake. And then at night, when the sun sets and your body will be exposed to this lack of light, your body won't be exposed to as much light anymore, and then your melatonin production will reduce, and therefore you're going to fall sleepy, and that's your body's kind of signal to start falling asleep. So unfortunately, if you're busy on your phone at night, your body will get confused because the blue light emitted from the screen will confuse your body into thinking that it's daytime. So your body will start producing a lot of melatonin, and then you'll have trouble falling asleep at night. And if you're a person with a busy schedule, that can be really, really detrimental for your schedule, for your sleep cycle. So my advice to you is that, this is scientific advice as well, at least close your phone an hour before you go to sleep. Don't look at any screens, no TV, no phone, no laptop, no computer, nothing. But if you can't do it an hour before you go to sleep, at least 30 minutes. So no screens for at least 30 minutes before you go to sleep. And lastly, the one negative effect of social media is that it can be addicting, because scientifically there's this one hormone that your brain releases. It's called dopamine. We've all heard of it. So every single time someone texts you, or every single time someone likes your photo or your video or your whatever post you put, you get that notification on your phone, your brain sends this rush of dopamine, and that makes you feel good. It's this feel good chemical. And unfortunately, dopamine is the same thing that is released when people do things like drugs, alcohol, or gambling. So literally, dopamine is something that's associated with addictive things like drugs, alcohol, and gambling. And all of those things are not even allowed in Islam, And every single time people engage in these things, they have this rush of dopamine. And every single time you have that rush of dopamine, you want more because it feels so good. So we may not realize it, but social media is addicting, and there is an actual science behind it. You can search up dopamine and how it's related to the whole social media situation. But it exists, and every single time we use social media, we get this feel-good chemical whenever people positively respond to us on these social media platforms. So we have to be very careful to not be dependent on these platforms to make us feel good. And we have to realize that there's so many other ways in our lives that we can be happy instead of just relying on social media. So that's one last thing I wanted to mention, that social media is addicting. So please be careful to limit your use, or to at least understand that social media should be carefully used, and it should not be in charge of your happiness or your feelings in any way.
Yeah, Azra, actually you brought up some really interesting, scientific points that really helps us, whenever we have evidence for something, it tends, especially for me, if there's evidence that, this is bad for you, it really convinces me that, I shouldn't do this anymore. So Azra's points were very compelling, especially since they were scientific based. And the first thing she said, which is very true, that, social media, there's been statistics that social media increases depression. And, that's, if we know that, we should really try to avoid that, if it really causes people, like Azra mentioned, to lower their self-esteem. If someone else is doing something especially when people travel, people tend to get kind of jealous that, he went over there and, I can't go over there and stuff. But, like Azra said, you don't see the whole picture in their lives. And then, it lowers people's self-esteem, being exposed to things like this. But, of course, I'm not saying that you should completely stop, using social media. That's kind of an extreme. But we're just kind of saying that, you shouldn't expose yourself too much to it, to where, those are the only things that are going on in your mind. Oh, what is my friend doing? Or where did this person go? You should kind of try to focus on your own life and, focus on positive things, like how you can improve yourself as a person, how you can improve your lifestyle and stuff. And so, we have to try to limit ourselves from social media. So then, because if we excessively use it, like Azra mentioned, it can lead to depression and it can lower our self-esteem. So that's really something we have to watch out for. So continuing on, Azra also mentioned a very important point that, on social media, there is a lot of cyberbullying. That is one of the most common things that happens on social media, actually. And it's been around, cyberbullying, they always tell us about it in school. So it's been around for very, very long time, this concept of cyberbullying. There's people out there that just like to spread hate, and they really don't care about other people's feelings. They just like saying negative stuff. They just innately have this nature in them that they like to say mean stuff. That, of course, like Azra said, people don't have the gut to say these kind of things in person, so I think it's easier to say it online. So, these people spread all of these negative messages and everything, and it hurts other people's feelings, and, it's bad. And I'm sure the viewers of this program don't do things like that, But, there are people like that, and to avoid our exposure to that, and to avoid getting our feelings hurt, or, being exposed to bad stuff like that, we should try to limit ourselves on social media. And talking about exposure to bad stuff, sometimes there are a lot of inappropriate things that are displayed on social media. I know some social media where, you don't intend for bad things to pop up, but they do, and then, you just, for your eyes, that's kind of a haram, seeing bad things. So, trying to limit our exposure to that limits the bad and haram things that we see with our eyes. So, I know on every social media I think that I've used, I've seen something that was inappropriate, but that's to limit our exposure to that. We should try to limit the time that we use and the time that we spend on social media. Continuing on, Azra said that it really affects our health because when we're exposed to the screen on our phone, then that it lessens the amount of sleep that we get every night. And scientifically, of course, that's true, as she based her what she said based on the scientific evidence, that we really need to understand that sleep is extremely important to us. It's really critical part of our health. We need to get a good amount of sleep every night, and if we are not getting up to those hours, if you're getting like less than 8 hours of sleep, that's not good for you. And we can understand that if you have a lot of homework and stuff, that makes sense, that if you're staying up for that homework. But if you're on social media, you're wasting your time excessively using social media. You should rather get that sleep because that's more crucial to your health. So overall, looking at what Azra said, there are a lot of negative things about social media, but there are also, like I mentioned before, there are a lot of benefits. So really, when it comes to something that has benefits and it has negative aspects of it, we really just have to learn to do one thing, and that's to balance it out, to limit our exposure to it, so then we're not harmed, like we don't go into depression or anything like that, and then so then we can attain our benefits out of that. So some other harms of social media that I wanted to talk about was that we can easily be negatively influenced on social media. There are a lot of things people do. There are people in the world that do bad things, like things that are prohibited in Islam, like Azra was talking about, like alcohol and drugs and stuff. And on social media, there, as far as I've seen, there are people, of course, who do that. And they're always posting pictures or whatever of them doing those bad things. Like yourself, you might be thinking, when you see those, you're like, what, I'm never gonna do that. But if you're continuously exposed to it, the older you get, the more you're going to see these things, because as people get older, they engage in more of these things. So then, without you knowing, you will be influenced by that. And maybe you might not start doing it, but maybe you might be less sensitive to it as you were before. You might be like, oh, it's okay that they're doing that. We should be solidly against those kind of things. So we really have to see that, social media can indirectly negatively influence us as we get older and as we use it more and more. So we overall need to keep a limit on how much we use it. And Azra gave a really great tip. I believe she said, we should close our phones, or we should close our screens, I believe 30 minutes before we go to bed. So that's a really great tip about how we can limit our time on social media so we don't excessively get into it too much and we just kind of balance it all out. So now, Azra, I want to come back to you. Can you give us any tips on how we can kind of control ourselves when it comes to social media, how we can limit our time on that?
Yes, definitely. So there are two things that you have to understand before you can try to mitigate the detrimental effects of social media, right? The first thing is how can I mitigate the detrimental effects? And then the second is the benefits of actually limiting our social media use, because we can be here and tell you all these different ways that you can change your life and not let social media really corrupt your life, but if we tell you the benefits of doing so, then you'll be more willing and more encouraged to make some serious changes. So first I'll talk about some benefits of really kind of detoxing yourself from social media for a bit. The benefits is that you can break the social comparison cycle. So how that whole competitiveness, you see other people with quote unquote better lives, more friends, better clothes, better this, more money, more that, they look so good. You can break that social comparison cycle and really just focus on your own self-confidence and focus on your own development. And you can focus on really having a healthy understanding of your own self-worth, because if we keep exposing ourselves to other people's success and we just focus on our own failures, it can have a huge mental and emotional toll on us. So we have to be very careful to break that social comparison cycle and to stop being so competitive. So that's one benefit. The second benefit is that you'll protect your privacy. There are a lot of people out there who are not on there for the best of intentions. and you see that. I remember once on accident, my account was on public. You know, you have an option of doing it on private. Accidentally, once something happened in the settings, I accidentally clicked the public button, and there were people on there who were like commenting on my photos. I didn't know who they were, and some of the posts were from people who I didn't even like. I never met them in my life. They didn't even live in the country, so it was really, really like disturbing for me. So I checked my settings, and I had to put it back on private and had to block all those people, because people on the internet, not all of them are there for your, for your best interest. So you have to be very careful. And also, evil eye, culturally especially, it's like a huge thing, but evil eye does exist. And if you constantly post your positive things, if there are people, God forbid, who look at that and have negative intentions, negative feelings, it can have a negative effect on your life as well. So keep your blessings to yourself, because if you're truly content with your blessings, you won't feel the need to share it with everyone else. Thirdly, it'll improve your overall mood, because you'll feel so free once you really kind of free yourself from the shackles and chains of social media. You'll feel so independent. You'll feel like your self-esteem is getting better. You'll have more free time. You'll just feel like a better person. So overall, it will increase your mood, because remember how we mentioned a few minutes ago, social media is proven to increase depression, stress, anxiety, and have low self-esteem. So if you really kind of limit the use, you're really going to improve your overall mood and really have a positive life, way more positive than when you were addicted to social media. Also, you can reconnect with the real world. Again, that's the fourth thing. You can reconnect with the real world, because I feel like when we're so addicted with social media, we're so busy documenting everything, like we've all seen this, right? If we all go out with our friends, we will not begin to eat our food unless we take a photo, right? We have to take a photo of every single thing. In fact, to the point where there's this like saying, I don't know what it is word for word, but you hear it around, right? Oh, if you didn't take a picture of it, it might as well never have happened, right? So if you don't document it, it never happened. That's some kind of like saying that's going around this generation. So it kind of gives these kids this like urge to take pictures of every single thing, because they're afraid if they don't share it with the world, it's as if it never happened in the first place. But that is so untrue, because I can testify. In high school, I was like huge on taking pictures and posting everything. But now in college, I kind of focus on my own self, and when I'm with my friends or when I'm doing something I really, really enjoy, I just put my phone away, and you'll enjoy it way more than when you're busy about taking photos and thinking, oh my god, what's the angle, what's the lighting, what filter will I use, what will I caption this, how many likes will I get. If you just focus on the good times you're having, you will have so many more memories in the long run. Because if you think about it, if you're busy taking photos of everything, you're not going to have any memories down the lane. You're just going to have a bunch of photos with no emotional connection. But if you really live in the moment, you'll have so many great stories to share, so many wonderful stories to tell in the future. And then the last two, you will gain a lot of free time, again, because social media is so addicting, and you'll just have so much more time for other things in life, and you can actually, read more, read the news, or spend time with friends, or actually be more successful in your life. And then also you can focus more on the reality. So no false perceptions, no filters, nothing, just the realities in front of you, and you can be much more prepared for whatever life throws your way, because you're living in the here and now instead of some weird alternate reality. And then lastly, some ways you can mitigate the detriment. So we talked about the benefits, right? So why should you? And I gave you all these reasons. Now what can you do to mitigate the detrimental effects, right? So the first thing is go on the social media detox, meaning limit your use. So if you're using social media 2 hours a day, maybe cut it down 30 minutes. And just slowly cut it down until maybe you use it only 30 minutes a day. And you can really see the effect, the positive effects of cutting out the social media time from your life. Also, unfollow negative accounts and negative people. If people are, like I said, back to cyberbullying, or if anyone's a negative, if you're not really getting a good vibe from someone or from some account, just take them out. Really, it's not going to be personal. Just take them out of your life. And if I'm saying something is negative, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're actually, going out of their way to make you feel bad. A negative account could be anything. It could be some popular celebrity who, by looking at their photos, you feel less secure about your own life. So if anyone's account makes you feel bad about yourself, just stop following them. Really, you don't need to see that every day, because if you keep scrolling through people's accounts, and if you keep feeling, oh my god, their life is better than mine, if you feel so depressed about it, is it really worth having them on there in the first place? So really detox yourself from negative accounts and negative people who kind of don't make you feel your best self. Also, again, I mentioned limit your use, and take a break. This is a more extreme version, but I've tried this before. It really, really helps. Just for a while, just deactivate your accounts or just delete the app off your phone and just take a break for a week or two. And believe me, you will see the positive effects. You will have so much more time. I did that once. I was like on this huge social media detox. I deleted my Instagram. I deactivated my Facebook. I deleted all the apps off my phone, even for Snapchat. And really, it helped me so much because I had so much more time for other things. I was so much more productive. My grades were better. I had more time for my family, for my friends, and I just felt better because I wasn't constantly exposed to all these things on social media. So really, if you're willing to give it a shot, it's great, because I know for college kids, finals week is going on. This is the perfect time. If you want to detox and just literally, delete the apps off your phone for a week or two and see the effects, I'm telling you, you'll feel so much better. That's something you should try to do.
Yeah, Azra, the points you brought up were really, really interesting and really great. First you talked about the benefits about us if we kind of limited our time or took a break from social media, and those are really great benefits. First of all, you mentioned that we break that social comparison. So you're not constantly comparing yourself to others and making yourself feel degraded, because obviously sometimes due to life circumstances, someone may have more than you do, and maybe looking at whatever they have makes you feel bad about yourself. So like Azra said, it was really good that if you feel like looking at that person's stuff makes you feel bad, like not on like a personal level, like don't take it personally, but you might want to just unfollow that account or do something like that where you don't feel that way, so you don't develop jealousy or anything, because we want to avoid things like that. And if you feel like that's going to happen to you, you want to avoid that haram, because jealousy is actually a really big haram. So continuing to talk, that another benefit about avoiding social media simply is that it allows us to protect our privacy. Like Azra gave a great example from her life, that sometimes even if you don't keep your profile private or whatever you have on private, people can hack your account. Like I've seen that so many times on social media where people's accounts are hacked, and it's kind of obvious that they're hacked because, it's like this completely different thing. But, if you're close to that person, you would understand that, oh yeah, he probably got hacked. But if it's someone that really doesn't know that person that well, and sees that they got hacked, and if it's something really unusual that they posted, it makes it look bad on them. So, like exposing ourselves so much to social media may increase our chances of getting hacked, and it lessens our privacy on that part. So if we really want to keep a good private life, which of course we all want, and lessen our chances of being hacked, we can kind of try to limit our exposure to social media. Another important thing that I feel is like the most important thing is that, avoiding or limiting ourselves. I'm sorry if I keep saying avoiding. I mean to say that if we limit ourselves from social media, it allows us to, like Azra said, reconnect with the world. I know, like back when I didn't really have a phone or anything, I didn't have much social media when I was like really little. Every day I would go outside and I would play with my neighbors. They would come over every day and they would ask, do you want to play outside? And, literally, believe me, like almost every day I would go spend some time outside. And, that was really nice for me. It felt really good to actually, interact with people in person and, just run around outside, get a good exercise. And I would do that every day. And I kind of missed those times that I got to do that because I wasn't engrossed in my social media. I was like in elementary school or middle school, and back then, or in my earlier years, social media wasn't like a huge thing. It actually started becoming a bigger thing towards the end of middle school, like at least for me. So, back then, and what I'm trying to say is that when I didn't have so much social media in my life, it was like I had a chance to actually connect with people in person and interact with my neighbors and everything. And nowadays when I look, everyone, literally, if you walk outside your house, everyone is stuck inside their houses. They're on their phones, they're on their laptops. Even it happens at my house. My brothers, they're so addicted to their laptops and all of these new games that they're playing and everything that, whenever they get a chance to, besides their homework, they're on their laptops or on their phones. So, it really, if we limit ourselves to social media, it gives us time for other things that actually would bring us more joy. Like I used to have fun playing with my neighbors outside, and the times when I actually used to, nowadays when we go to restaurants with my family, it's like when we're waiting for the food to come, we're always on our phones because we don't know what else to do. And then our mom tells us, we're out here to spend time with each other. You should put your phone away and we should talk to each other, because that's kind of the point of going out with your family, is to spend time with them and not spend time with your phone. So, things like that we should really take into account, if we're going to a family dinner, if we're going with the friends to a dinner or anything. you should try to put your phone away. And like another great point Azra brought up is like, we tend to take pictures of everything we do. And I have to say, I tend to do that too. And I have to limit myself to that also, but just to kind of, I'm just saying this for myself and for everyone, that, the reality isn't that if you took a picture of it, that doesn't automatically indicate, that it happened, thinking of it like that way, that I worded that wrong. If I don't take a picture of it, it didn't happen. So if we think like that, that's not really reality. Or if you really want to keep it that way and like remember and document each and everything you did every day, maybe you can take a picture of something that you did and maybe keep it to yourself, maybe to not make someone else feel bad. Like I was also thinking about that. One time I was at a restaurant and, like usual, I was taking a picture of the food, and then, my mom, she told me, so there's some people who can't really have access to like this kind of food, it might make the other people feel bad that they can't have that, and then you're constantly posting pictures of it. It might make others feel bad. So, taking that into account, we should really try to limit the amount of times we do things like that so others simply don't feel bad. So, simply limiting ourselves to social media can bring us so much. It allows us to reconnect with the people around us, because now, like I said before, everyone seems to be, stuck in their houses doing whatever. And, sometimes kids, they complain about staying up so late to do homework. Well, maybe that's why that happens maybe because they spend so much time on their phones. So maybe if we can, like Azra said, slowly lessen the amount of time we spend on our phone every day, it can really help us in the long run, because then, maybe on day one you were spending, I'm just going to say like 3 hours on social media. And then maybe if you slowly, after a couple of months, you limit it to 1 hour, that's actually really good progress for you. So, I don't know, just varies from person to person how much time you use social media. If you can try to lessen it every day, like Azra gave, that was a great tip, then it can really help you in the long run to really manage your time. Like time management is like a whole other topic that is really, really important, and limiting ourselves to social media and other things that may not be too good for us, like non-religious things, like too much exposure to that. We should try to limit that also. So, simply we should take into account that, we really should control how much we use social media. And another thing that you can do that I know that's on my phone, but I don't know if every phone has it, is there's something called screen time, and it allows you to know how much time exactly, like it's literally minute by minute, how much amount of time you used in different applications, like how much productive you were, or how much you used in like social media. So if you look at that every day, you can kind of monitor, your phone can automatically monitor like how much you're using social media every day, and that might help you control it also, because you're more accurately keeping track of how much social media you're using every day. So, and Azra, another point she mentioned was, sometimes, you can just take a break to see, you can like kind of test it on yourself. How long can I live without using social media? You can say, especially I know for college people, it's finals weeks are going on right now. And when, for high schools and everyone, their final week comes, you can try to limit the amount of time you use on social media, or you can completely take a break. Sometimes it sounds like unbearable. Oh my God, I can't like go on my phone, or not go on your phone, but like go on social media for like a day. It's actually really possible. Like I actually do that often. Like if I have an exam, I'll delete some of my social media from my phone, and when my exam's over, I'll get it again. So it really helps, because like, you wouldn't go through the struggle of downloading that thing on your phone again. If you're a person who's really addicted, you might do that, but most people, if you delete something from your phone, you'll stay away from it. So if you try to do that, that really helps, because sometimes just telling yourself that you're not going to do it really doesn't end up too great in the outcome. Sometimes you have to really take that thing away from yourself to stay away from it. So that's a great way of doing it. If you have finals or anything, or if you really just need a break, even celebrities, they take breaks from social media. So it's not that hard as it may seem to some people. So you can just kind of take a break and just see how you live with that, and then you'll actually see that you have opportunity to do so many other productive things too. But then again, I'm not saying to completely leave it, because like I mentioned before, and like I've been talking about throughout our discussion today, there are multiple benefits of using social media, like especially fundraising for someone who's sick. Social media really, really helps in things like that, because how else can you get the word around so fast besides social media? Like, it would be a hassle in person trying to go house to house to spread your message. Social media does it in seconds. So that's like a really, really good way of fundraising. And another thing that it just kind of came to me before, that social media allows you to, do duas for people who are also sick. So spreading of doing duas, like that's also a really great like religious way how to apply to our religion. I know we haven't talked about that too much throughout this discussion, but just kind of connecting everything with that to like kind of conclude that we can spread positive things through social media also, like wishing for duas for someone who's ill, or if after someone passes away, reading different parts of the Quran. It really helps to get things like that done, because there's a lot of amount for things like that. So social media is great for things like that, for acquiring information, for connecting with people. But then again, everything that you do, unless it's something that's for religious purposes, should have a limit to it, especially if it's something that has, of course, its own benefits and disadvantages, which is basically social media. So Azra, I'd just like to come to you. Do you want to just kind of say something, like a note to people about social media?
Yes, definitely. So Rabab is correct that social media is used for so many great things too. So either if you're struggling with how to use social media, first learn how to do it right. You learn how to use it for the right things. But if you really can't do that, then obviously try to have a social media detox, maybe take a break. Or if you have multiple social media apps, like if you have like 8 different social media accounts, maybe limit the use of some, or completely take away some social media accounts, because you really need all 8 of those different types of social media, right? What is there? There's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, Tumblr, WhatsApp. There's so many other ones. Reddit, is that a social media? I don't even know. There's so many. There was a Vine at some point. The list goes on and on. Some people consider YouTube a social media. So really think about which accounts do you really need, which accounts do you not need, and really kind of go from there, because social media is something that's so wonderful. It was made for good purposes. It really was. No one was sitting behind a desk saying, oh my god, I'm going to make social media to make people more depressed. No one was like that. People originally invented social media for good things, to spread awareness, to spread, to really kind of, increase relationships between people, and to really spread awareness and share your thoughts and ideas, and the whole freedom of expression thing. So definitely use social media for good things, but always keep in mind, the moment that social media ever gets to you, or if you ever feel down or insecure, or you feel like you're comparing yourself to other people, just always remember that social media is not always the accurate truth or an accurate representation of what's going on in the world, and always focus on the reality before everything else.
Yeah, Azra, beautiful wrap up over there that you gave away. So here are some quick takeaways from today's discussion. That social media has a lot of benefits. It was made to benefit you, but it also has a lot of harms if it's not used in the proper way. So really, we have to be aware of how we use social media, and we should try to use it for its benefits, and how to like limit ourselves so then we don't get too excessive with it and go into depression or anything. So I'm sure we all don't spend like 24/7 on social media, obviously, and if we can, we should try to limit ourselves to it. That would be a really great idea. So that's like a main takeaway of today. There are benefits and there are harms, so we just kind of, with things like that, we just got to find a balance in between. And if we can use it for religious purposes, we definitely should, to spread the message of Islam, especially to spread message for duas, for anything we can do to help a person, or to read Quran, to spread encourage people to read Quran. We should really do whatever we possibly can to make the most out of social media, because it is a great tool for us. But then again, we have to limit ourselves to it. So I hope you all learned something today, and if not learned anything, again, like I mentioned this in another one of our sessions, where it's always nice to be reinforced with things that we already know, so then we'll be more attracted to following those things the more they're displayed to us. So it's really, really great if you do control yourself on social media. Another message, if this is just like another message to kind of reinforce that in your lives, and you can kind of tell your friends about it or anything. So I hope you all enjoyed today's session at Youth Perspectives. Me and Azra were really great for all the people who are watching this right now, and we hope that you have a great day.